Time to do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Hope I get away with it. Oh, da doo-dah day.
You're muted, Dan. Can't hear a word, Dan. Dan?
Okay, now
There you go.
Seems to be working. Sorry. Sometimes StreamYard forgets the settings that we put into it. But then again, maybe it's just about that time.
Time to do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Hope I get away with it. Oh, da doo-dah day.
Yep, and yeah, in case anybody else caught me with a dead microphone, it's Last Man Standing, and Donna's with me tonight, and stupid clock went all over the place, but stayed pretty much committed to armchair rocket science. And
It's always interesting when Zach gets on there.
Yeah. Joe will come up with the question, and Zach's got the answers.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that. Joe's very good at questions.
Yeah, not always good at. I love how he changed the parameters of our bet last year. I never bet that I wouldn't get high off his moonshine.
Mm-hmm.
And I never denied that I didn't.
Just that you didn't fall on your butt.
Oh, that Southern male pride.
One day I'm going to have a long talk with that boy.
Oh, why? It's so funny the way he is.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
somebody's still awake. What? Calvin decided you didn't have to go to bed right now?
Hey, there's Joe too. Joe
Uh,
Buckman.
yeah, but he's already in bed. I sent him an invite because
Oh.
I was afraid that you and Carl would have been retired for the night, and it would have been just me. And I don't know why Bill hadn't popped in, but he gets the link through the stupid o'clock link list, and I'm sure I put it in there. But if not, I will.
Hmm.
Um,
I was super. I thought you weren't going to have one tonight.
no, I
Or-
am still on vacation,
Oh,
but I
okay.
go back to work Monday morning. So this is the last week of my vacation time for this year. Um, I have been enjoying it, and if you if you missed what I said there in Stupid O'clock, all the pain in my leg is getting easier and easier to bear. It. I'm having to take fewer and fewer ibuprofen and Aleve to get through the day. I think today I've had maybe two of each
Mm-hmm.
instead of two handfuls of each, like it was
But
several
yeah.
weeks ago. So that's got to be better for my kidneys and my
Oh yeah.
liver. So I'll be glad when I don't have to mess with that. But it's I'm doing pretty good, um, which kind of is a blessing, seeing as how I wasn't able to get an appointment at a doctor's office before New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
So by New Year's, I may not need it.
Still probably might want to go.
Yeah, but I am going to go down to the local drugstore and get the two shingle shots. Now that there's a 90% chance they're still in my insurance network from work, so it'll be paid for by my insurance, and I won't have to be out of pocket for I don't know what is it $300 worth of two shots.
I have
Which
no idea.
hey,
I don't have to get it, so I never checked.
mm, um, so far everything's doing pretty well.
Good.
Um, oh, Lindsay discovered that the Bacardi Black is almost as strong as the top of the line Kraken because she'd bought some eggnog, which is one of my weaknesses, and she apologized because it was non-alcoholic. She got it at the grocery store, and I go, "We can fix that, honey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let me pull in over here." Yeah, yeah, and I was trying to get something that was more in the range of the mid-range proof rum because I took it to heart what y'all said in the green room about rum is probably one of the better things to mix with eggnog.
Probably.
Yeah, it's I mean, and vodka's just right out. I mean, seriously, although I have had some good evenings with vodka and Kahlua making white Russians and whatnot, but um, there's just too much of a chance of overdoing it
Mm-hmm.
when you
I wouldn't know a
mix.
thing about that.
I mean, seriously, w- once once you've had a couple that are right spot on, and you go to mix the next one, some of us have a tendency to be a bit heavy-handed,
Wouldn't know a thing about that.
and it don't work out that well later on. Uh, you sleep real well. Might be waking up on the floor, but you sleep really, really well. My wild and misspent youth has turned around and bit me in the butt several times.
Well, yeah, I got a brand new flavor, banana pudding moonshine. I saw that on
I
the shelf and like I gotta try that.
let me know what it's like. I mean, it's not something that is going to drive me out of my mind until I get some, but I'm admittedly
I'll be
curious.
trying it tomorrow night in the green room. Unfortunately, after the white chocolate covered strawberry cream episode, I'm not allowed to keep the bottle or mason jar. Somebody else is going to be keeping track of that and allowing me.
I don't like the sound of that.
Well, the last time when I had the white chocolate strawberry, I drank the whole mason jar in one night. And Aunt Donna flew pretty high that night.
There were undoubtedly repercussions, or at least a couple of ricochets off the wall going down the hall.
Uh, there's no walls to ricochet off of going from my office. I mean, there is on one side, but on the other, it's over the railing and down to the first step.
No, we don't want you to. That first step is a doozy. We
Yeah,
don't want you to. We don't want you to take that one.
yeah. Fortunately, Uncle Carl came and walked me home, so to speak. But at least I didn't bang my head on the door like I did with the Kraken and
Ramchata. Mm.
yeah.
Yep. I've got to admit, I might have thought that was a good idea too until you demonstrated that it was not exactly the best idea in the world.
It was a good idea. I took it to extremes. It went down way too smooth.
Yes, that is the problem.
Yeah, so
The
you know,
ones
in
that are way too smooth. And then you try and stand up and go, oh shit, gravity works.
uh, I just learned that in the future, if I'm going to drink that mixture again, I make up so much ahead of time, and that's all I get for that night,
Mhm.
instead of two huge fish bowls.
Fish bowls. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh
And
yeah,
believe it or not, I've got one of those fish bowls. Thankfully, Lindsay has seen fit to fill it full of sand and seashells, which is not a good additive to a mixed drink.
Mm-mm.
It's a little gritty. Oh, what do you get when you drop a gummy bear on the floor back on the back floorboards of a car when you're a child?
I don't know what.
You get a gritty bear.
Yeah.
I know, I know. I about caused mom and dad to have a wreck when I came up with that joke as a kid.
Did
Oh,
they have gummy bears when we were kids?
um, I was in high school, but my wild and misspent youth went on till I was in my 30s. So
Okay.
I follow Tolkien's guideline. Adolescence for a male doesn't end until you're at least 33.
True. When we were kids,
Unfortunately, wisdom doesn't start until you're in your 40s. So.
if then. No, as kids, the closest thing to any kind of jelly was chuckles. Remember the little squares?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, Danville had a chuckles factory in it.
Oh,
Yep. A lot of people around here with white lung instead of black lung.
sugar, yeah. Um, Speaking of which, tonight I finally managed to finish off the homemade chocolate um, squares from Lindsay's church. One of the ladies had made this stuff, and I'm going, have you got a license to peddle that stuff? Because it was good chocolate.
Uh,
Um, some of it was white chocolate, some of it was dark chocolate, and some of it was layered together.
ooh,
Ooh, yes.
that does sound good.
And there was one piece that actually had what I am assuming is crumbled up Oreos sprinkled on top. Ah, I took about a week to empty that little Ziploc baggie. No, because I mean,
Yeah,
a
I have to
a
pace
little, a
yourself.
little, a little dab will do you. I mean, seriously, it was a taste explosion.
Yeah, I bought some Irish cream chocolate
Mm.
liqueur bonbons. I haven't ever heard of Bombi. Bombi.
Mm, I'm not familiar either, but
Chocolates with liqueur cream filling. Oh, yeah. It's only about this big, but you don't
mhm.
want to take more than one at a time.
I know, I know. Uh, I've got I've got my personal kryptonite standing by.
Oh, yeah.
Dark chocolate too.
Mm-hmm.
A- It's unopened
As of yet.
as of yet, and I've had it for a week. Although the thing that's been keeping me from opening it, ooh, and I still with those, one is fine, two is wonderful, three is I'm in a coma.
Oh, man. I discovered a new little goodie. You've heard of Andy's Candies, mints?
Hmm.
Cherry Jubilee.
Oh, that ought to
Uh,
be wonderful.
Evidently, they only come out this time of year.
Mm.
But, and they are rich cherry. I mean, oh, yeah.
Now, I've got something in the fridge that Lindsay has told me I need to finish off. She made mince pies, the little bitty pie pans
Mm-hmm.
with I forget the brand name of the mince mix, but it only comes in like half quart jars. I mean, seriously,
Mm-hmm.
you get one of those and you make enough for like 20 people to have a mince pie. Well, it's lasted two holiday seasons so far, and the jar is now empty. And she goes, "Hey, these are the ones that got left from the church social, so you need to eat those." And I'm going, "No problem."
Take out as many
No
as I
problem.
can, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
we
Parkus is
went
willing. Uh,
we went over to Benny's Monday, and I went a little crazy. The chocolates were on sale, and they had a um, Irish cream loaf. They called it a loaf. It looks like a bread loaf, but it's the consistency more like a cake.
hmm.
And then some Bailey's salted caramel
Ooh.
and some uh, a caramel eggnog.
Hmm.
And then I forget what the third one is, but it's along the coffee creamer flavor sort of thing.
Mm.
And then of course I had to pick up the black cherries margarita.
Oof.
That stuff, Carl loves that stuff.
I would too. Um,
And between that and the cigars, I spent $250.
sounds like what we spend on groceries, and I do mean healthy vegetables and stuff. Oh, um, company I work for usually gives us a well, they used to just bring them out to the plant and give them out at shift change, but now they give us a gift card where we go to Honey Baked Ham and pick up an entire spiral sliced ham.
Mm-hmm.
We have been eating on that thing for over a week now, and Lindsay just went tonight and got out the vacuum sealer and sliced and sealed in. I think she said she was going to do it in about half-pound segments because more than that, and between the two of us, you run the risk of having leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
But with half-pound, you just thaw it out, heat it up, it's ready to go. And I am looking forward to. She's probably going to do what she usually does and get the big soup pot out and put the bone in there and make some stock and make some kind of intensely vegetable soup with little bits of ham floating around, which
I
is
was thinking ham and beans.
well, hey, if I can talk her into it, yeah. Um, it's whatever she's in the mood to cook. It does not matter. I know it will be good.
Yeah.
There, there is a reason why I now weigh 200 pounds and I was only 130 when we met. A woman can put some food on the table, make a poor man cry. I swear it's that good. And she's finally learned to leave the sugar out of the cornbread, so I'm a happy camper. Um, hey, she'll make homemade bread, rolls, biscuits, loaf bread. She's doing the cornbread just especially for me. She's not really fond of it herself, but
Mm-hmm.
you give me a hunk, you give me a hunk of cornbread and a bowl of pinto beans and some chow chow and some butter. I would just be sitting off in the corner stuffing my face as fast as I can. My mama used to say, "You give that boy a pinto bean, he's happy." And yep, exactly. Um, I make no apologies for being raised Southern.
No, no problem.
And
We don't
we,
do a lot of ham. Carl doesn't care for ham, and
mm, well, I mean, it's free. I
yeah,
mean, $75 worth of ham, it's free. Uh,
that's a lot of ham.
it was an entire leg, basically, from the knee to the hip. So, oh, and I don't mind telling you, it all gets used up one in one recipe or another. Um, earlier today, it was a couple of slices of the ham and mashed potatoes and stuffing with gravy. And speaking of stuffing, I stuffed myself. I did not know whether or not I was going to be awake at stupid o'clock time. So I came real close to just nodding off and waking up tomorrow sometime.
Yeah,
Uh, hey,
it
uh,
happens.
hate to miss out on a vacation night, but these things they happen. Now I'm gonna have to go and get us some more of the eggnog because we've still got half a bottle of that rum that has to be disposed of in a less than hazardous manner. And I know what would happen if I started drinking it straight. The bottle would be empty, and I'd be
Mm-hmm.
wet somewhere. I wake up with a dog licking my face.
Yeah. Well, we
Oh,
went over. I had a friend. Well, his wife is like my sister, and had to run him to the ED last week. Renal failure. So I told her Monday. I said we're going to lunch and pick a spot, and she couldn't. So I'm like, okay, we're going to Perkins. It's Monday. It's free pie day. We're going to Perkins. And when Carl heard it free pie day, he's like, I'm going too. Okay. So I get a text from her husband Mike. He says, call me when you meet up with Julie. And I'm like, okay. So we get to the restaurant and order our food, and we give him a call, and they discontinued dialysis because he was that much better.
Oh, good.
They are now getting ready to send him. He's moved out of ICU. He's in a cardiac unit, and they are preparing him to move him to a rehab because he's been on his back for a week and a half. The man's 51. They did get him to stand up, but he hasn't had the strength to walk yet. Oh, Carl is still with us.
Oh.
But it was nice because he loves lemon meringue pie, so I ordered one to take in. And I told her, I says, I understand if this isn't, with the free pie, since it didn't come with a meal, and they still didn't charge me for the pie that we took to him.
Very good. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to run down the hall. You want me to play intermission rather than have you sit here and just talk to our 3 people in the studio audience?
3 people? We have 3 people?
We have 3 people, and one of them's Carl. So
I could sit here and make fun of Carl.
better
run the intermission.
Save that for tomorrow night. Green Room needs a little bit more entertainment. We shall return after this commercial message. Oh, I think putting the mountain stream in there in the background was a diabolical touch on my part, but it makes sure that I'm not standing there in the restroom going, I had to go a minute ago. I think
Yes.
I think I need to do something like that and just put up my Amazon author page and my Bandcamp music page and stuff like that. Just run it as a regular commercial when I've got to get up and go in the middle of in the show. I mean,
Mm.
it doesn't matter if there's several people here, but I hate to leave somebody alone with the camera, even though I know you're perfectly capable of monologuing for however long it takes. But
Who, me?
oh, yeah, yeah,
Sweet, sweet little modest, shy me.
yep.
Yeah.
Sweet little butter won't melt in your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
Chris Walker left.
hey, Chris.
I don't know what he was laughing at, but I was out of the room, so
Me too.
oh,
No, we were watching dispatches from outside the box the other night, and they got to talking about VHS. And somebody's like, yeah, I spent $50 on a VHS movie. And I'm like, 50? I spent $89 for White Nights plus shipping on VHS. That's how much I wanted that movie. And yes, I have it now on DVD.
okay.
Uh, have you ever seen it with
I
Gregory
may,
Hines
I may have, I
and
may have.
Barishnikov?
Mm.
I went to see that movie in the theater, and the whole theater was quiet during the entire movie. That's how focused everyone was on the thing. And then how when the credits start running, a bunch of people will get up and leave. Nobody left or spoke until the screen went dark. It's an amazing movie, and I believe it or not used to be a dancer myself. That little dancer that Heinz and Barishnikov do in there, used to know that one by heart.
I've seen you move. I can believe you can dance.
Yeah,
Of
they're
course,
getting deep.
most of my dancing looks like I learned it while playing dodgeball.
And I
Getting out of the
started
way.
taking dance lessons when I was 4 years old. Went to 3 state fairs, won medals, doing pretty good. And my teacher had to quit to take care of her elderly parents.
Mm.
I can pretty much dance with everybody but Carl.
Why is that? He asked innocently.
Because Carl has to count it out,
Oh,
and I'm used to just going with the flow.
I ran
We
into a similar problem uh, dancing with my mother at someone's wedding. It turns out, uh, because she'd been married to Dad for decades, both of us were trying to lead. And
That's happened to me sometimes. Yeah.
when she relaxed and realized, hey, my son can dance, or at least, kind of slow dance, um, it became a whole lot more fun. Although we didn't get fancy with any twirling or anything. I figure,
Mm-hmm.
mom's a little fragile, so um, not going to go through that.
Yeah. We took ballroom dancing twice, but if you don't keep practicing, you just don't get into the rhythm of each other. I did finally teach him though that there's you if you know the jitterbug, you can dance to almost anything,
Mhm.
country, rock, whatever.
Um, I did wind up when I was first when Lindsay and I were first getting comfortable dancing together,
Hmm.
holding each other close, dancing together. I did teach her that I was able to uh, to sense the counterpoint beat.
Hmm.
I would make moves that weren't necessarily on the 1, 2, 3, 4, and she'd go, "What? Wait, where'd that come from?" I go, "What? It's the offbeat. It's in if you listen, you can hear it." But um, a lot of that is combination of having the 1, 2, 3, 4 drummed into your head, pun intended, by marching band and all the complex rhythms that came out in the concert band stuff that some of the especially when I was playing French horn instead of trumpet, you had to know these counter melodies, and you had to be able to sense where your notes were supposed to come in. And if you didn't get the counter melody, you didn't get those um, not off tempo, but the half beats. You
Right.
you could not play correctly. You'd be in the wrong place, and it would sound awful. So you know, many a decade in in the concert band taught me to hear rather complex rhythms, and not all of them are. Unless you got the ear, not all of them are easy to lock onto. And that
Hmm.
probably helped me appreciate stuff like the really complex patterns that Frank Zappa's music was written in. I mean, you got something in 32/68 time,
Yeah.
um, dude. You sure you never did drugs? Cause this is some. No, he didn't. No, he didn't ever. No. Just got into some really syncopated stuff. Oh,
Uh,
and the
Sometimes
jazz.
the music is the drug.
Yep, definitely the case. Yep. Um, um, when I was suffering through um, short bouts of depression, I could put on music and drag myself out of it within a very short period of time.
Hmm.
It was not like I was bipolar. It's just situational stuff. Things happen,
Hmm.
you get down,
Yeah.
and then you put on the right music. You get into it and you start feeling better and you get out of the depression and things take on a different perspective. And it's not like it was a substitute for medication for people that are clinically depressed.
Right.
But for somebody like me that's just um, deeply empathic and kind of self-conscious and things things build up until you just can't take it, and then you gotta find some way that's not harmful to get it out of your system. Music is one of the best things for me for that, and you can. And nowadays, if I can't find what I need to hear, I'll write it. Oh,
You get some amazing stuff.
hey, I got a chance because I was on vacation. I got a chance to watch Mike Jimmy's animation show this
Mm-hmm.
morning. And now I'm usually at work when he does his stuff on Thursdays, but he was doing how he does the different animation cells for Life on Korra, and putting it all together in there. Uh, Evidently I was late for the introduction, but as soon as the channel came up, I heard the last few beats and the fade out for the little piece that I wrote for his animation. And I thought, oh, that's good. That really feels nice that he actually likes that. That makes
Mm-hmm.
that gives me some warm and fuzzies right there. And then at the end of the show, he played the whole thing, and I'm going, oh man, this is going to be so cool. I want to do some more for that.
Oh yeah. I missed that today because I was at the eye doctor. I'm gonna have to go back and catch it. I usually watch it every week.
I am so sad that normally I am at work, so
Mm-hmm.
everybody's daytime stuff I miss because there's no way that I can technically I could pull it up and watch it at work, but there's no way I can justify not being on my job at that
Mm-hmm.
time. So I just don't even try. There's one or two special things. If I'm having a slow day, I can pull up and watch maybe 15 minutes of it and then go back to my job and do some more and come back and maybe catch another 15 minutes on the replay because the show's probably already over by then. But as far as sitting down and going through an entire show uninterrupted, I can't do that at work.
We have
It's
quite a
just
few
there's
people on Never Mind the Furthermore that come in just on their break, spend 10, 15 minutes with us, and then go.
that's exactly right. Yep, that's exactly the way it would have to be for me to make that work. And a lot of times at that time of the day, I am elbow deep in trying to get more test samples and get the tests running and whatnot. So I would have to catch the replay anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it just depends on how busy my day is. Some days I just do a couple of tests and I'm going, well, I can't just goof off the rest of the day. I'm getting paid for 8 hours. I got to turn in some work here, and I'll pull up something and write code for a spreadsheet or something like that. But it's work oriented. I can justify it to my boss and not get in trouble. But there's no way I could justify sitting there and watching YouTube.
For sure.
I don't care how close I am to retirement. I don't want to get involuntarily closer.
Yeah. Uh, I heard today my doctor's retiring.
Oh,
Well, wished him well, told him not to tell anybody he was retiring or he'd be even busier.
hmm people getting last minute prescriptions. Lindsay meant to make an appointment to go get a new pair of glasses during this last 2 weeks, and it- the church ladies kept her so busy she didn't have time.
Yeah.
And when she wasn't busy, she was tired because I mean, you go in there and doing all this stuff, and um, it's very involved, and by the time you get home from all of it, you're pooped. All
Yeah.
you want to do is sit.
Well, I was
Uh,
talking about after you retire.
Oh, after I retire? Yep.
Everybody's gonna have something for you to do. Oh, you got a truck? Come help me move. You've got, my mom voluntarily surrendered her driver's license on her 80th birthday, which I appreciated. But she also asked, instead of said, "Oh, you can drive me around," she said, "If I give up my driver's license, would you mind driving me around?" And I'm like, "No problem." Well, we had this cousin that she was kind of best friends with, kind of best frenemies with, because I love my cousin dearly, but she kind of made everything a contest.
Oh, yeah. I know people like that.
And since mom was driving me around, I ended up driving her around. And I tried to tell her, she says, and I'll take care of you. I'm like, well, you can pay me so much. And she said, oh no, won't do that. I'll put gas in your car. Like, okay, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But I'd take her to the grocery store, and she'd put her stuff up first, and I'd put the little thing, divide her down, and put my stuff up. And the next thing I know, she had taken the divider away, and she bought all my groceries.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it would cost you so much less just to pay me so much an hour.
Yeah, really.
But
Because I like to buy the good groceries.
yeah. So yeah, or she'd go shopping, and I make the mistake. Just because I admire something doesn't mean I want it.
Mm. Yeah.
My second fiance had to learn that lesson. Like, no. I like it. I doesn't mean I want it.
I ran into that with you might as well call it a laptop bag because that's about the size it was. I mean, I'm sure originally it was meant to be a purse, but it was non-gender specific enough to where you could stuff a laptop, power pack, whatever in there, would have had plenty of room. It wasn't like it had 8 or 10 pockets in there and a little
Mm-hmm.
thing for the driver's license and thing for the car keys. No, it was just. And I looked at it and Lindsay goes, you want that? You can get that if you want it. I go, no, honey. Just let me put it here on the shelf where it lays. Let me spread the strap out. I took a couple of pictures of it on my cell phone. I said, if I really want it, I'll go to the Tandy Leather website and order stuff that I can make my own that is more sturdy than this, and
Mm-hmm.
it'd be, and decorate it the way I want to. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Roy Rogers,
Personalize it.
Roy Rogers laptop bag, yeah.
Yep.
Uh, you
Oh
don't know how
yeah.
close that is to being autobiographical there. I mean, Dad is kind of like, if you can imagine a cross between Captain Picard and Roy Rogers, that was Dad.
I kind of can. Yeah.
And
My dad was
he,
more like Junior Samples.
a babe magnet, huh?
I tell you, they even. I mean, they looked so much alike and sounded so much alike. You'd have swore they were separated at birth.
That's right, called BR549.
Mm-hmm. And Dad had that same kind of naivete about him. Yeah, never met a stranger.
Mm.
And they say women gossip. That man could gossip like nothing. He was always on the phone.
Oh, yep. Uh, and then later on, You find out Daddy got around. Might have been around the farmer's market, but Daddy got around.
Well, these two sons didn't fall too far from the tree. And I can talk about anybody, but I'm not one too much for just going up and starting a conversation with a stranger.
It's it's both a blessing and a curse. I mean, seriously.
Hmm.
I've been standing in the checkout line and all of a sudden somebody 3 people ahead of me is trying to pay with food stamps, a EBT card, cash, and pocket change. And whoever's at the cash register is having to count all this stuff and add it all together and trying to figure out what's covered with this and what's covered with that and what the cash will do. And we're just standing there going, um, other line always moves faster, don't it?
Oh, yeah.
And I will
And
say something off the wall. As you know, I am prone to do. And all of a sudden, I'm talking to somebody that I have never met before and will never see again in my life, like I was in kindergarten with them and knew them every day since then.
hmm
It's got to be genetic. I don't know. It's got to be genetic. But it's just something in the family line. We do this,
Yeah,
and it actually makes life a little bit more interesting from time to time.
yeah. Well, I can get something going. Like back on AOL, when we were on AOL, I used to go into this chat room, and my AOL account was free. But I happen to know that all these other people in here are paying to be there, and they're not saying a damn thing.
Hmm.
They're just sitting there. So I started up the conversation, start something going. But once it gets going, I usually sit back and just watch because that's how I am. Like, I might comment once in a while, but I'll get something going, and then I'll just step back and watch watch my work progress.
You're a world class instigator, in other words.
Well, that too. There was one woman in there who was so freaking jealous of me. She's like, "Oh, you always have to be the center of attention." I'm like, "No, I'm the center of attention because nobody else is talking."
Really, I'm the only one saying anything until you piped in.
Oh, we ticked her off one night. I think I told you the pussy story. We ticked her off so bad because I was passing around pictures of my pussy, my Siamese cat at the time.
I do remember this story now.
And everybody kept it going. Oh, you want to see a picture of Carly's pussy? And I don't know why she said she wanted to. She hated me, but she wanted to see a picture of my pussy. And she comes back and says, "That's not a pussy, that's a cat." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know where you come from, but we call cats pussy."
What did you expect? It's America Online. You want porno?
That's
That's
in a
two channels.
different chat room.
That's two channels over on Dollnet. Okay. Um, yeah. I remember back when I first got online. After I had figured out that I could use the computer for something else than playing solitaire, I got on Usenet and started talking to Doctor Who fans. I got on Dollnet, started talking to Doctor Who fans, Blake Seven fans, Star Trek fans, and lots and lots of other people. And there were times when I had the chat program open. I was in 3 different networks at the same time with about 12 chat channels open between the 3 networks, and
Mm-hmm.
just, alt tab back and forth typing, I could see what people were saying because I had the windows spaced out all over my monitor. So I could see
Mm-hmm.
what everybody was saying. So I could tab over and type into one and then tab over and type into another and just basically party time.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it was all text and everything. And that actually turned into typing lessons because I learned how to type faster trying to keep up with everybody else's conversations that I was interested in being part of.
yeah. Well, by
And
the time I was on AOL, I'd been touch typing for about 15 years or so, maybe more. So,
that is still a talent beyond me. I'd be using 3 fingers on one hand and 2 on another.
but AOL had a really neat private message thing where there would be a box, but then there'd be a tab
Hmm.
behind it, just almost like a file. And whenever somebody said something, that one would light up, so oh, wait a minute, need to answer that. And yeah,
It
I'd
would,
have.
yep, it'd light up and blink at you. And
Mm-hmm.
if you had your settings right, it would set off a chime on your computer.
And
Um,
yeah, I'd have 15 or 20 open at a time.
there was a time back when regulars in a chat room would have different sounds attached to someone, one of your friends
Mm-hmm.
has entered the channel, and then they would play uh, sounds triggered by some ASCII art that they made up. And if you had those sounds in common, your computer and their computer, it would trigger the sound effect and the animation at the same time. And it was it, it was a way to basically, even though we didn't know it at the time, it was a way to learn C++ programming
Yeah.
because that's all that stuff was putting in little commands, call this, do that, print this, change that color, do this color, change it again, da 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 da.
Mm-hmm. You could
And
do
people
that
were
on
showing
AOL
off.
if you knew how.
Yeah, people were showing off how much they learned about the different chat clients that they used.
So,
I've still got and still use MIRC once a month on Saturdays in the Larry Niven fan group chat, and I've had to edit out a lot of the script that used to be freaking huge because the ASCII art is no longer fashionable, and people use different chat clients to get in there and would not trigger any response on their computer. It would just show up as a line of code, and they
mm-hmm.
go, "What's that?" Oh, it's supposed to be ASCII art uh, Tootsie Roll in full color, but hey, I'll stop doing that anyway. um, the sounds are still there, but I don't know that now I'm like 5 computers later that I've still got the sound effect on MRC queued up to the right directory for the sounds. But
Yeah.
um, back in the day, it was it was a fun thing to do, and it kept you thinking and kept you learning and uh, gave you and your friends something to talk about. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. Oh, that's nice. I wouldn't have the patience to do that. That must have taken all day. And I mean, seriously,
Oh yeah.
didn't even know it was actual programming language. We just thought, hey, this is what the program does when you type in this string of numbers and letters and plus signs and periods and whatnot. It
Hmm.
came in handy later on when I started doing other stuff. Um,
Yeah. Talking about a fun thing to do. Oh, you would have loved this. You would have been part of it. Back before AOL was AOL, it was three separate companies. There was Quantum Link
hmm
for Commodore computers. There was Apple Link, obvious, and then whatever it was for the regular computer. Well, on Q-Link, we found a writers group, and you know how writers can be imaginative.
hmm
And the room was called Crossroads Cafe. Well, really should have been Crossroads Bar because we had a bar and we had it was supposed to be a potted palm, and somebody had a typo one day and it became the pooted palm. And then one day we had a slight fight and a fire, so the bar burnt down. So we built a new mahogany bar with a so we Carl and I went up to do Grand Rapids to meet Marty, who was another writer we'd met in the group, and I don't remember what his real name was, but his screen name was Zen Pepper. And then the four of us went over to Lansing to a barbecue that one of the guys from the room had invited us to. And there's Carl and I in our mid-30s, and Zen and Marty in their 40s. And Riker was only like 26. And he made the mistake of asking, what do old folks like to drink? Okay, so we started talking about the Crossroads Cafe, and how do you like the looks of the new bar, and wasn't it nice when they put that pretty picture over the bar, and we're talking like it's a real room, and he's like, "You're talking like you've seen this," and we're like, "Don't you have this special software that put pictures up there?" And he's like, "No." Well, yeah, there's if you have the software, you can actually see the bar. There was no such thing.
I
But we
know,
had him going.
I know, I know. I can't tell you how many times I popped into the chat room and it was like 50 people go, ASL. Excuse me? Um, um, I'm male, I'm old, and you don't need to know where I am, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there were a few of them where you'd wind up in 15 private chats with somebody thinking you had a girl's name. And I'm
Well,
going,
I made a
dude,
mistake.
you are sorely mistaken.
I made a mistake. Going on AOL, of course, back in the day, you really didn't want to put your real name out there,
hmm
and so I took Carly after Carly, my character in Hunter's Ridge. And nope, too many of those, and I didn't want numbers. So a friend of mine suggested putting SM for soulmate in there. Like, okay, yeah. I got a lot of strange personal messages because it was SM.
Mm-hmm. I imagine so.
Especially when I went to the other room that I would spend a lot of time in with a lot of people from LA who were in showbiz. Like, yeah, you guys really are that freaky, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Um, one of the first ones that actually went out of their way to make me feel at home was down in New Orleans. Most of the folks, and
Hmm.
they knew each other in real life. And I popped in there just, kind of checking out the chat and all this, and I'm going, no, 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 personal messages, no, no. I'm not here to do private chats and whatever, but it came out to be a good experience later on when I was writing a story where uh, two different scenes took place in IRC chat rooms. I knew how everything worked. I knew how everything looked. I made it look absolutely like somebody had just copied and pasted a chat log.
Hmm.
And it was I, I even had somebody pop in trolling looking for somebody to PM the Big Daddy. And then promptly get booted out and everybody goes, "What was that?" And another character said that was a troll. They think this is a singles bar. Um, no accounting for taste. Um, but I mean, I had all the bells and whistles going on in there. People would come up in the chat in the chapter of the story. Their uh, their nicknames and whatever would be a colored font pattern with ASCII art at the end of it, and they'd be typing. Sometimes they'd use a totally different font from everybody else, just because
Hmm.
that's the way their computer was set to do. That's what they wanted. That's what they liked, and it'd be all this, and you could keep track of the different speaking characters from the font colors and the ASCII art and not only what they were saying and how they were saying it, but all these visual cues to keep. I mean, you didn't have to. Everything was attributed in the dialogue basically, but it was attributed visually rather than in a standard uh, text format like you'd see in a novel.
Hmm.
Instead of he said, she said, it'd be this guy's got a bright blue font name and he's typing in black and it's all gothic print. And he's a very dramatic fellow. And
Yeah.
here's this girl who's related to a porn star, and she's going, "Hey, she's just my cousin, man. Don't bother me about."
Yeah. Well, Chris, if you're talking about the earlier AOL and that, yeah, you missed a lot of good times.
Mm-hmm.
Fresh Air Cafe was a Babylon site, chat room set up by Joe, monitored so that if somebody came in and said, "Hey, I'm Bruce Boxleitner," it was Bruce. He had his stars go in there a lot. Yeah, that was much fun, but it was also role playing.
Yeah, there was a
And
lot of that. There was a lot of that.
we had a lot of people come in. We had one guy who every time he come in, his cape swirled around him as he walked to the bar and ordered this drink, and he'd take it to his table, look down, turn around, and go, "Hello, room." And every time he came in, he would do that.
It was probably scripted when he came in. The computer put in this paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Um.
we had We had Klingons. We had a Viking in there. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Now, the nickname I used most of the time was Villa,
Hmm.
Villa Restall from Blake 7. Went into one, it was it was the most juvenile room I had ever been in. Basically, it was just people practicing their attack scripts.
Hmm.
And some guy popped up, asked me for my autograph, and I go, "Yeah, okay, Villa Restall." And he goes, "I got Bob Vila's autograph,"
Oh well.
and then proceeded to rake me over the coals because I wasn't trying to pretend to be Bob Vila. I was trying to pretend to be a character from a science fiction show in England he had never heard
Never
of
heard of.
before. Basically, if this guy could have picked out Kirk, Spock, and McCoy from a lineup, I'd have been real surprised. Seriously.
Yeah, and I finally got tired. That one woman who hated me finally got tired of her. So I made up a new screen name, Rihanna, which is Celtic for Donna.
Hmm.
Only Rihanna was 6'3", Celtic red hair, looked probably built like Julie Newmar.
Mm. Which is always a plus.
Yep, she was from St. Louis, and she had a bit of an accent, which that's about the time I started being really good at writing accents. She never did figure out who I was. Unfortunately, one of my really close male friends PM'd me one time and says, "Hey, Rihanna, do I know you under another name?" And I'm like,
Rumbled.
could be, could be. And he's like, "Didn't we talk on the phone last week when you were in Florida?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Scott, we did. Shut up."
Don't tell
And
anybody I'm having fun.
no, because he thought it was, he knew why. He figured out why I was doing it.
Hmm.
Not a lot of people like this woman because she was me, 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 me. Oh,
Yeah.
and they're like,
Yep.
okay, we gotta let her in because it's an open spot, but you know,
I tend to think of those folks as the look at me, look at me, look at me. My life has no meaning unless I'm the center of attention.
exactly.
And we know lots of people like that, or have known lots of people like that
Mm-hmm.
in the real world. There was one fella just recent. I don't even think he's retired yet, but he's fixing to retire. He'll come into the break room or the men's locker room, stand there at the doorway, flip the lights on and off over and over and over again. We just kind of go, yes,
Yeah.
Steve, you're here. And then he comes, and when he's not trying to be on, he's a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm. I
But
can't
it's
say
just
that for her.
he wants to be on all the time, and when he's in character versus when he's himself, he's just loud and obnoxious and overbearing. When he's himself, like I said, really nice guy.
Mm-hmm. Um, bunch of us girls from the Fresh Air Cafe decided we were going to go to a con in Williamsburg, Pennsylvania. Met at my place, and we had two carloads of us to drive there. That Jason played Marcus on B5
Oh,
was Yeah, was the Carson Carter, Jason Carter.
Okay.
Um, took hell of a guy, hell of a guy. And he only went to the small cons where afterwards he could party with the guests and the fans and be a
Hmm.
part. Found out he was a poet, and it was just a fun couple of days. But she drove in by herself, and that was back when cars were just starting to get remote locks,
Hmm.
and the car would honk when you clicked it. Yeah, she had a lot of fun. We would, a couple of times we went out to eat, and she always like had to go. Well, wait a minute, I need something out of my car, just to make the horn honk.
Just to,
See
just to be the center of attention. Hmm.
see my brand new car. Like, I don't care. My van was probably 10 years old at the time. Got me to Pennsylvania and back.
No, um, I did not feel like I had bragging rights because I had a 75 Chevy, no 70 Chevy Impala. But take that thing on the highway going to Atlanta to see Rocky Horror Picture Show after
Hmm.
work on the weekends. Whoa! I had the air cleaner,
Hmm.
the air filter lid upside down, so it would suck in air from all sides instead of just through the snout. You would never know it till I stepped down on the gas pedal and kicked in the four barrel, and all of a sudden it sounded like a 747 trying to take off.
No, I laughed when you said Rocky Horror.
Oh
One
yeah.
of the, one of the things we did that weekend, uh, they somebody in the group had gotten a copy of Rocky Horror. Somebody else had gotten a copy of the script, so that we all knew what to do. And we had a private showing of Rocky Horror where we did all the stuff that people did in the. We had to clean it up later because we didn't want to leave that for the hotel people. But yeah, that was a fun weekend. Carl didn't go.
Missed out.
Yep.
Um, Now I have been to several movie theaters showing Rocky Horror, but not for very long. But there was this one theater in Atlanta that showed it every Friday and Saturday night, um, and uh, it was their midnight and I guess 2 a.m. showing,
Hmm.
or maybe it was 11 and 1 a.m. But I mean, they did it every week for years and years and years until they had to turn their copy of the print of the film back in because the people that own the theater did not pay the license for another
Ooh,
year.
yeah.
So that put an end to that. But it was a nice little theater, but it was a very intimate little theater, very very ornate. It must have been just absolutely a dream to go see movies in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. But this was the late 70s, and it was just a touch past its prime. It didn't mean it wasn't a fun time, but
I'm
they
laughing at
they let
yeah.
they let everybody cut up. They let
Hmm.
throw
I'm laughing at
rice,
what Carl said.
the throwing toast in the air.
Yeah. Have
Uh,
you ever seen Rocky Horror Show as a play?
um, seriously, I have seen a videotape of the London cast. And I have seen it on television with a totally different cast,
About
but
3 years
done
ago.
as a play.
About 3 years ago. Is that the one? They had a live performance on TV of the play.
Um,
And I'm like, once you see the play, the movie's not quite, it doesn't quite fascinate me as much as the play did. To see what they did, how they handled like the
I, I
bedroom
I
scene.
treated them as an equal. That was the one with Anthony Michael Hidd as Frankenfurter.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, yep, and he
Yep.
did a marvelous job.
Oh yeah.
Um, but no, and I have seen it in theaters in larger theaters that catered to uh, people standing in front of the screen reenacting the movie in costume at the same time the movie was going on. And there was one girl that her bustier would not stay up, and basically, I hate to be crass, but her nipples got standing ovations.
Oh, bad.
But she was absolutely perfect as Columbia. She did exactly the right stature, exactly the right figure. She had the correct costume. It's just anytime she raised her arms, the headlights would come on.
Unfortunately, that's how bustiers usually go.
Uh-huh. Well, um, Lucy Lawless was singing. I believe it was a Canadian national anthem at a hockey game or some kind of sports event up there, and she was just belting out the song and doing real good. But it came time for the big finale, and she raised one arm and boop, and then raised the other arm and boop,
Boop.
and that became the most sought after video clip on the internet for months
I imagine.
because she's a beautiful woman.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, well, might as well go the whole hog. Ha ha!
Yep.
Oh Lord, and still these days, and um, used to have a still photograph of the climactic scene, if you'll excuse my wording, from that video clip in my locker at work, along with a deep fake of Mariah Carey on roller skates and not much else, and a not quite so deep fake of Linda Carter's Wonder Woman, and all this stuff that had, it was popular back in the day, and I had just by coincidence
Yeah.
downloaded these
Coincidence.
downloaded these photographs and printed them out, and and just go and guys at work, when I'd open my locker, they go, damn. And I go, yeah, yeah, that's my anti-theft device. If somebody ever breaks into my locker, they're still going to be standing here drooling when I come back.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And people took the joke. I mean, seriously. But um, I I was between wives at the time. Seriously. Well, actually, it was before my first wife, I bet. No, no, because one of the series of pictures I had, I could swear it was my second wife. When she was living in Florida, we were separated.
Mhm.
I'm sure it wasn't, but the resemblance was striking enough to make me think it was. And I knew this woman, well, I would say intimately, but that's an understatement. But you know,
Yeah.
uh, still. And nowadays we got new management. I can't even put the pictures back up in my brand new locker because somebody from management would come through and do a random locker check, and I'd get in trouble.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with the photographs when I retire. I can't bear to throw them away because it might have been her, you know. But and I don't want to upset Lindsay
Mm-hmm.
by any means because best time of my life. So, oh, Chris, she greatly resembled my second wife. I mean, seriously, same freckles, same smile, same figure. We'll not go any further because it's public. But, I mean, uh,
Oh, he's wanting to know who she was.
I don't
Do
know who she was, but I thought and seriously do think still it was my second wife when we were separated. She was living in Florida and fell under the influence of some Lothario who, for some reason, convinced her to let him take pictures of him and post them online. So, um, you know, my secret fear is her son will see these pictures and recognize his mother.
mm-hmm.
That I do not want to have happen.
Understood. You were talking about the incidents. My grandfather always said he was a little Irish imp. They've seen it before, and if they haven't, they don't know what it is, so it doesn't matter anyway. And my mom was like, "Thank you for saying that in front of my 5-year-old girl." But then again, it was my mom and dad that took me to my first strip show.
Where you made a
Didn't.
big contribution to your college fund.
I think I was about 14. But we had this friend who every time he heard somebody was playing the organ, he'd say, "Get down and let's go see." So there was this lady playing the organ in this town just a few miles from where we lived, and he says, We got to go see her. So it was a Wednesday, and we go over there, and they still had the placard up for the organist. We go in and take a seat near the stage, which is okay. Why is the stage okay? Maybe they just don't ever change the stage. And the guys and mom order their drinks, and they get a Coke for me, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden the music starts up, and out steps this blonde lady, and she starts doing her little number. And my parents' friend was like, "We can leave now if you want to." My mom's like, "Why? This, she doesn't have anything that Donna doesn't have." And considering at the time at 14, I was a size C and 5'6", and yeah. So it was funny because mom and I would be there going, "Oh, that was a nice move." Uh, Yeah, those aren't real because when she did that do bit, they didn't move at all. They just kind of
Oh.
sat there.
Yeah, I know the propeller tassels. Yes, I know the move.
Yeah. Yeah, the tassels were moving, the boobs were not.
Yeah, but still, you got to admire the talent to get them to move in opposite directions and then the same direction and then back again.
Yeah, and that's hard to do because after I went home, I tried that, but never could get them to go in the opposite. But anyway, we're there, we're enjoying ourselves. Like, oh yeah, that was a nice move. Meanwhile, the guys are back here drinking their drinks and hiding their eyes so that they're not ogling this beautiful. I mean, she was a beautiful woman,
And they usually are.
and they just didn't enjoy the show half as much as Mom and I did.
Which is a shame.
It is.
It is. Now, I'd be the first to admit that I would be totally embarrassed to walk in on the same sort of situation with my wife, and I'd probably want to be the first one to leave so that if the inevitable biological reaction happened, it would not be directed at someone I was not in love with at the time. Um, and yeah, that would to me that would feel a whole lot like fooling around on my
Mm-hmm.
wife, which I don't want to do because I mean seriously, when when you've got the best, you don't want nothing else. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. So of course he never lived that down. That he was the one that took me to my first strip show.
I imagine that came up at family reunions a time or two.
He was a great guy.
Uh, Now I've got to admit that always rather shy and easily embarrassed. And if some of my college friends were watching racy movies, I'd be the first one to get uncomfortable and want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just I don't know exactly what it was. I mean, you can whip the boy with a Bible belt, but you can't take him out of it. Um, and I've, I've, uh, I've, like I said, I've had a wild and misspent youth, but once I became a responsible adult, um, the idea of being uh, not in a serious relationship with one person exclusively was not a big turn on to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it as much as the '60s bled over into the '70s, into the '80s, into the '90s. Promiscuity was not something that I was greatly tempted by. I was more interested in find a woman that'll put up with me and stay with her for as long as she'll put up with me. And I'm not that difficult to put up with. You know, I am rather lazy, but you know, I am good for something. Uh, Usually a smartass remark at exactly the wrong time.
Oh, back see, that would have been this, yeah, back in the 70s. we had 3 outside movie theaters in town. One on the north side, one on the south side, and one on the east side. East side was the only one that did not have the screen facing a road.
Oh.
And you could probably figure out why.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 16. I had this big old Oldsmobile. 16 looking like I was 25. And my girl cousin and I decided we're going to go there.
Uh-huh.
Because, yeah, we figured it right. They looked at me, didn't look past me at her because she looked. I was 16, she was all of 13 and looked at.
Mm-hmm.
So we get in there and we park it up. We're going to see a dirty movie.
I bet it wasn't much of one back then.
we saw some titties, but we had titties. We weren't looking for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's one of those. It's like the song. Is that all there is?
Yeah. It wasn't until much later that things loosened up to where you could. Female nudity was not the only thing that was presented, except at that time in carefully choreographed shots that would not reveal any male anatomy, or at least not microscopically zoomed in on. Like, yeah, wasn't no telephoto lens on those. No. And then there was a time period when all of it was it was simulated. It wasn't real. There was no actual coitus going on, but it looked like there would have been if you squint really hard at this screen a half a mile away from the other side of the highway in a parking lot of the store across the street.
Well, that's why the screen wasn't toward the. It was at that time nothing but woods behind that the screen was facing.
And you'd be amazed at how many teenage boys was hiding in them deer stands and them trees.
Well.
Take my word for it. If it was possible, they would have done it.
Probably. Yeah, we were like, that's not much. At least the movie wasn't half bad. It had a plot.
Yeah, definitely the 70s. They felt like they needed to have a plot back then. Although there were a few in the 90s that actually had a semblance of a plot, but they had no desire to stick to the plot.
That's true, Chris.
Yeah. Oh. Hey, I'm 65 years old. I'll still look. Don't think I'm going to touch, but hey,
ain't no law against looking, especially if they're right out there.
If you want to show them to me, I'm going to go. Thank you. And then I'm going to go and finish my grocery shopping or whatever it is. Oh, Lord. Last time I went to Walmart, I do not know how old this girl was. She looked like a college girl. She was dressed like a cheerleader. And I'm going, are you working? But she's walking into the store about to buy groceries, and I'm going, last time I saw that kind of costume, it was in a Debbie Does Dallas movie. And now she filled it out rather well. The skirt was impressively short. She had nice legs. That was all that was on view. Um, but still, I imagine there were a few shopping cart accidents in there when she was walking around getting her groceries.
I'm sure. There's
And, and maybe a couple of divorces.
there's a TV show called Most Shocking or something like that, and usually it's crashes where nobody gets it's splendicious crashes, but nobody ends up getting hurt, that sort of thing. And then they had a naked show of people showing up. This one guy was protesting. What was it? That he had gotten a summons for court for, I think it was just a parking thing or something.
Oh, and he decided to make it indecent exposure on top of that.
Yeah, he's
Mm.
standing there. And he's haranguing the crowd that's gathering, and then all of a sudden he's like, "We'll see if they like this," and he throws off his shirt, and I'm like, "Okay,"
This
because
is not
he's
going to end well for you, dude.
no, and he's a big fella. He's a big fella. He's nice and white, and he's still doing his haranguing. And he says, "And I'm not done yet." And the next thing you know, he's pulling down his jeans and taking them off, and here comes the cops. And
There are some places you do not want to get tased.
well, he was
Mostly your
lucky.
entire body, but
He didn't get tased, but he did get put face down on the blacktop. I'm thinking there's some road rash there in places you don't want to get road rash.
uh-huh.
Fortunately, they blurred out all the stuff that I really didn't want to see. But yeah, they had a whole half-hour show of stuff like that. And it's like a car accident. You gotta look. You gotta. What the heck are they doing?
You
Yep.
can't look away. It's like, God, this is awful, but I got to see what happens next. It's a guilty pleasure. And in the strongest form of the word guilty, you really feel bad that you wanted to look, but
And there was this one group that was operating under the idea of if there's enough of us, they can't arrest us. They were wrong
mhm, it takes an
because,
awful lot to be too many to be arrested.
well, there were like 60 or 70 people.
That ain't enough. Six or
No,
700, no, 6 or 7,000 maybe, but uh,
because the cops had gotten word this was going to happen.
oh yeah,
So they had extra people out there. And it took a while. Not on camera, of course, but they said, yeah, it took them about 20 minutes, but they got all of them arrested. I'm like, yeah, no shit.
um, there's going to be quite a party in the drunk tank when the anesthetics wear off.
Mm-hmm. And then
Oh,
there was the guy who was high. I don't know what he'd been taking, but he was flying. And this dude was a good 6'4", probably 300 pounds. Dancing around, start naked, and they tased him 4 times, and he didn't go down. That's how high he was. They finally had to tackle him, and it took, I think, 6 cops to get him to the ground.
hmm
It must have been something like PCP or some one of the stronger
that was
stuff.
my suspicion. Yeah, that was my suspicion. Yes, Chris, they still talk about that one, and actually, I have seen it, and it is You see worse on soap operas nowadays. Back then, it was revolutionary. Now, it's dull.
Mm,
I mean, I, you expect a commercial to come up selling cornflakes or somebody's car lot trying to sell used cars in the middle of these soap operas, and you're seeing a whole lot more than you did back then when these things were just outrageous. Um, Times change.
mm-hmm.
People's perception of things change. Not morals, but mores change. What is permitted and what isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, I should have seen everything happen in my childhood in the '60s, in my teenage years in the '70s, and basically I did. Um, Still didn't make it worth watching. I mean, a dull script is a dull script. How many.
Yeah.
I don't care how many naked people are on screen. Um, the best you could hope for something like that was if the people that wrote the script had a sense of humor and they made it all funny.
Yeah.
If it was serious, you'd be lucky if you could stay awake. Seriously. Don't care how pretty the girls were. If it's a dull story, you're going
Mm-hmm.
to eventually nod off without having had too much to drink or
Or
anything.
turn it off.
Yeah, turn it off. Go watch,
Well,
you
let's
know,
find something else.
go watch Back to the Future again. Much more entertaining.
Yeah, even the third one.
Mom,
Well, I can still remember the first time, and I've never seen Hair. I need to see that
oh
sometime.
yeah, yeah.
The first time that
Um,
came, that was on stage.
and I watched a biography of Meatloaf. He said he was in the cast of Hair, made an extra $10 per show if he took his pants off. He said, "Look, I'm a starving artist. There's
Yeah.
not that many acting gigs for a guy that looks like a football player. Got paid. That's all he cared about.
Mm-hmm.
And the man could sing.
Oh yeah.
So, um, we didn't know it till Rocky Horror. And from Rocky Horror, we got Bad Out of Hell and Bad Out of Hell 2. And what was the third one called? I can't remember what the third one was called. But still, the man has pipes. He can sing like if there was still opera, he would be able to do it
Mm-hmm.
flawlessly. And that's the thing about Rocky Horror and uh, the Bad Out of Hell records. He he went at it like it was an operatic part, and
Mm-hmm.
the performance was right there. The voice was spot on. Everything was perfect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Is still one of my favorite songs. I love that
Uh,
song.
I don't know, Chris. I really don't know. I do not remember the third album title, but I know he had three. So and the first two were Bad Out of Hell and Bad Out of Hell 2. So That does sound right. That does sound right. But I just do not remember these days. There's so much has gone in. Naturally, a few things have slipped out. Uh, oh. Well, we've covered a wider range
Okay.
of subjects tonight than Stupid O'Clock tried to. So, what you got?
Welcome to the neighborhood. Dead ringer. And braver than we are. Couldn't have said it better. I never heard that one. Hang Cool Teddy Bear 2010. Hell in a Handbasket. Meatloaf albums.
Hmm. So there were a whole lot more than just three then.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he went on to just straight acting and did a great job with everything he was in. Every part he was given, he nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. He guested on Ghost Hunters a couple of times. They got to be real good buddies with Jason Hawes, the dude who started Ghost Hunters. And very interesting every time he came on the show is he just the way he threw himself into the uh, seeing what was going on and everything. The last time he was on their show, it came out just after he died.
hmm.
And so they had a very nice tribute on the show. This one was for Meatloaf, a great guy who'll be sorely missed. So that was really nice of him to do for something like that.
Hmm. And I would say he's still missed today. Enormous talent,
Hmm.
wonderful voice, and
Well, I didn't
almost
know he had a daughter, so I guess that means I didn't know she was married to him.
yep. Um, I try not to pry into celebrities' personal lives. Um, in some cases, it's a letdown. In other cases, it feels like an invasion of privacy.
Oh, when their kids get involved, like George Harrison's son, I mean, the way George Harrison's son sings and plays the guitar, George is still alive.
Danny?
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. Um,
he's. Well, Chris, just because it was public doesn't mean I knew it.
yeah. I'm not generally part of the public.
But yeah, when
Um,
they come
yeah.
out, yeah, they don't
There,
pay attention.
if you're really a fan, there's something called a concert for George. It's 4 hours long. It's four different kinds of music. If you're just interested in a Beatles retrospective, just watch the last hour. But if you're interested in George Harrison's life and what influenced him and what kinds of music influenced him all through his life, watch the whole 4 hours. But I highly recommend it. It is absolutely excellent. But Danny Harrison is on there. Um, Eric Clapton, um, um, the piano player. Oh.
Elton John,
No, no, no.
piano
Uh,
player.
uh, um, damn it, was pretty much the fifth Beatle for a lot of their
Oh,
studio
him.
recordings.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
and he's done quite well for himself. Otherwise, I've misplaced his name and I can't remember it right now. But and loads and loads of other famous musicians. Um, there's one part in the final hour of it where they're playing Beatles songs, and Paul McCartney is playing piano and Ringo's on drums, and you see every drummer on the entire stage looking at Ringo for cues as to how to keep the beat.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Preston, thank you. That is exactly right. Billy Preston. Thank you, Chris.
Yes, I saw that one, Chris.
Yep. The one with Prince is a totally different one.
Yeah,
But
that guitar solo was something. Chris, to me, Prince was a freaking genius.
mm, I never really appreciated him until after he was gone because I just saw the gimmick. I didn't see
Mm-hmm.
the talent until
It.
later when I got to see other stuff that
Mm-hmm.
actually showed that the the man could play. So I mean,
I
in
forget how many different instruments he could play, but his albums were all him. He only had a band for live performances. The
mhm.
thing that gets me is it's too bad he had to sing in that falsetto because his natural voice was awesome. It was just beautiful.
I always knew he was like Alice Cooper, could put on one hell of a stage show.
Hmm.
I did not know he could actually play until it was too late and he was gone.
Hmm.
And then with all the retrospectives, I found out I missed I missed out. You're being paged.
You can hear him?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That's all that's all right. It's
almost
hour and
time.
57 minutes in, so we're getting down to the wire here. Um and we have covered a wide range of topics, not exclusively porn this week. Um Probably never happen again unless the ratings go up. Uh No, I don't care about ratings. You hit the like and subscribe if you like this show. We got all kinds of stuff. Uh, no. It's. What am I going to do? Get monetized and have to put up with commercials when I watch my own damn show?
Well,
No, don't want
I
no
think
commercials.
Carl is still watching, so he must be crying because Carl's awake.
Isn't that your job?
Nope.
Oh dear. That was evil of me. I'm sorry, but it comes naturally. Uh,
That's why I love you. It's Calvin, Chris. Charcoal doesn't talk a lot, but Calvin will find himself by himself, and instead of going and looking for one of the three of us, he'll sit there and cry till somebody comes and gets him.
Feed me, Seymour.
I was all alone.
Oh,
I swear, sometimes if he could, he would sing. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. Guess I'll go eat worms.
and then you got to take some pills, cat. No, don't eat worms. Believe me. Stick to the cat food and whatever treats Aunt Donna sneaks to you
Yeah, Donna doesn't sneak treats to him too often.
too often. Yeah. Ah.
He's very needy, Chris. Um, yeah,
Mhm.
Charco grew up outside, but we
Calvin's still
think
growing up.
He'll be a year old here soon, but we're pretty sure that yeah, he was abandoned, and even after
Yep.
almost a year of being with us, he's still got abandonment issues.
Yep. I don't believe I've had a pet that I have adopted that did not have some kind of problem with when you have to leave the house. They feel like you've abandoned them. And when you come back, even if it's just, oh, I forgot my keys, it's like, I've never seen you in a year. It's only been 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Sit. But
Mhm.
no, it doesn't matter if it's a cat or a dog, a goldfish or a turtle. I always get the same, you left. Well, yeah. You want
Yeah.
food? I got to go buy some. In any case, it's past 2 hours, folks. And I, for one, have had a marvelous time. I hope you have too.
Yes, I have. I
And I
do
hope
hope Richie feels better though and can join us Saturday.
it's I really enjoy Richie's company. I really do. I really enjoy Chris's company. I really, although Chris and I tend to go off in these musical tangents that people go, I wasn't born then, I don't know that. And we just go, catch up.
Oh, like we do on Friday nights with a certain little redhead.
No, we don't leave her hanging. We do explain things. Whether or not she cares to look it up later and experience the glory that was our youth, that's up to her. But um, it didn't happen until after I was born. Doesn't mean anything because I wasn't born
Mm-hmm.
in the 1800s, and I still like Beethoven and Brahms and Bach and the Strauss
Who?
waltzes and things like that. Yeah, who? Um,
Yep, that's the one, Chris. It's fun to
mm,
think of things that she doesn't know, though. I don't know who would do that.
I plead the fifth. Um, I'd rather have a bottle in front of me, but ah,
Yeah,
Lord, it's
that's
time. It's time for the bedtime story before we get ourselves in
it's time
trouble.
to say goodnight.
And good night, everybody. Good night, Donna. Thank you for being here. Good night, Chris. Thank you for being here. Good night, Carl. If you're still awake, if you're not still awake, good night anyway. You'll see it on the replay. We're 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 not going for 6 hours tonight, Carl. Relax. Uh,
Good night, sweetie.
good night.
Transmission overload.
System will shut down. shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down.